So, Ayanna, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great. But like I mentioned, I think it's great to have you. For December, we're doing our roundup of beauty, hair, TV, movie, everything. And with you having the year you had, I think you're just perfect for our cover. So thank you for joining us, and let's get into it. So let's just take it from the top. How did your musical journey begin? Were you born into a musical family? Is this something you discovered on your own? How did that start?
Yeah, yeah. I was born into a very music loving family. Blessed to be African American and Puerto Rican. So I was exposed to a lot of different types of music growing up. Salsa, R&B, hip hop, and even my siblings had like different tastes in music. So I was exposed to a lot of music. And when I was younger, I would like follow my sister around the house because she used to love to sing around the house. Like she would be singing like Monica and Pink and like just like the late 90s, early 2000s artists. And I just wanted to, copy my sister at the time. But I ended up falling in love with singing myself. I ended up falling in love with writing lyrics. And I really feel like it was high school. I just like grew the confidence to like consistently be on stage and perform. And with that, I started with musical theater because my high school, I went to Cardinal Spelman in the Bronx, woo woo. And every year they would do a musical. And my sophomore year, I joined and I just haven't stopped performing consistently since like 14 years old. And, it's just been a beautiful journey of musical theater and then coming back to my original music. And now, yeah, I'm just focused on live music now.
That's awesome. I know Cardinal Spellman, they have amazing productions. I watch like their production of In the Heights all the time. It's so good. They put on the best musicals. So, when did you realize like this is not just a hobby or something I want to do on the side? When did you realize like this is what I want to do? This is my livelihood?
Yeah, yeah. So 2016, I described like 2016 as like the year that like changed me for the better, that just, directed me on the path that I'm like currently on. I had a really bad mental breakdown that year. Just like everything in life was just coming at me in different ways, and I just wasn't happy for multiple reasons. And when I recovered from that, and took time to like focus on my mental health and focus on self-love, I just asked myself the simple question of like, what makes you happy? Like what do you enjoy doing? What makes you happy? What is something that you look forward to that you'll wake up excited to work on? And it was music. Like it was automatically music. So I challenged myself. I was like, all right, I'm gonna release an EP, of original music, original instrumental, original lyrics, and I was blessed to meet my producer for that project the end of 2016. And once I started like creating my own music, then it was like, all right, we're creating this music. Now let's get on stages. And once I got on stages, it was like, all right, let's continue this. And when 2020 hit and we were all in quarantine, I was like, nah, you can't take the stage away from me. Like it was just hard to deal with. But I ended up, learning the benefits of the virtual world, doing performances on my IG Live. And when things started to, quote unquote, become normal again, I knew that I wanted to continue performing myself, but now I wanted to create spaces for other artists as well. And that's where like Uptown Melody comes in, and me like producing events and performing in them and just all that. So for me, it was really, I owe it to 2016. It was a rough year, but it really just, planted this new Ayanna in place to, do all the things I've done.
That's amazing. And I'm so excited later on in the interview to talk about Uptown Melody and all the events that you've done because you're just exceptional. They're amazing.
Thank you.
Earlier you did mention that, your sister would sing like Monica and Pink. So, how would you define your sound? And if anyone, do you take inspiration?
Oh yeah. I mean, I grew up on so many different artists, but I always say my holy trinity is Jill Scott, Mary J. Blige, and Luther Vandross. Like Luther Vandross is my father's favorite artist. He's like my favorite artist, just the way he performed on stage. the way that he delivered vocally was always so like velvety, rich, and smooth. And then with Jill Scott and Mary J. Blige, like they just resonated with me. You know, like Mary J. Blige with the hip hop and R&B combo, and Jill Scott with just, you know, at least for me, like being representation of like a thick woman who was confident and owned her sensuality and would just like entrance us with her poetry and her voice and her lyrics. She really resonated with me. So yeah, those three, Jill Scott and Mary J. Blige, Luther Vandross, I give all the kudos and praise to all the time. But in general, there's just been so many artists that have inspired me. Like I even started creating a list called like the albums that shaped me. You know, like it's just like what albums did I listen to growing up? And it's so many different artists: CeeLo Green, Usher, Solange, like just of course Beyonce, Destiny's Child. But yeah, it's just like a variety of artists that have influenced me.
For sure. And I see that in your music. I hear that in your music. It's funny, when I met you in March at the Ukrainian benefit concert, I immediately, don't get me wrong, everybody there was great, but I listened to you and I'm like, oh, she's good. Like I loved it, your sound, your tone, everything. It was just amazing. It really was. And speaking of that benefit concert, ever since then, I feel like you've done something every single month. And I feel like this summer specifically, you were just back to back with different events. And one of those events was the 1 year anniversary of Uptown Melody, which you
Yes.
did, you know, from Instagram. I saw you hosted an amazing event from it. So can you tell me a little bit, number one, about Uptown Melody, you know, from the thought behind it to the growth within a year of Uptown Melody, and then also tell me a little bit about your performance courses, which I saw that you had offered early on. Why feel the need to pay your training forward?
Okay, got you, got you. So yeah, so Uptown Melody. Uptown Melody is a platform dedicated to Bronx and Uptown creatives. Um, we produce live music events. I believe that the Bronx is a magical place. I believe we have so much talent, so much creativity, so much joy, so much strength. And at the same time, I feel like we have all that, but we could be very scattered and very spaced out sometimes. You know, I know me as a performer growing up, I wasn't really hitting too many like Bronx open mics or Bronx events. I had to go into the city, I had to go into Brooklyn, you know. So I've been wanting to like create like events in the Bronx for a while. When 2020 happened and I had to, you know, create my IG live series to like continue performing, it was called Midweek Melody. It was called Midweek Melody with Ayanna the singer. And when things started to, you know, when people started to get comfortable going out again, I knew I wanted to create something in person. I knew I that I didn't want it to just be me performing. I wanted it to be all the dope creatives I've met like over the past years. And luckily I shared this idea one day when I was at Boogie Down Grind Cafe in Hunts Point. And they were like, yeah, we actually want to do something similar, like having, you know, live music and stuff like that. So it was just in alignment, you know, for me to collaborate with Majara and James from Boogie Down. And we started there. And then next thing you know, we're bouncing over to the Bronx Brewery, and we're bouncing over to Harlem, and we're bouncing over to like these different spaces and people and organizations wanting to collaborate with the shows. So like over the past year and change, like we've produced over like 22 events, networking events, open mics, just featured showcases. And it's definitely been a beautiful journey, a labor of love. It's been a lot of work, but I really enjoy it. And when I created Uptown Melody, my tagline, and it's still Uptown Melody's tagline, is entertainment, education, opportunity. And I felt like the first year I did a really good job with like the entertainment and the opportunity part. But the education part, for me, that was artist development, you know, because I'll go to open mics, and you know, I got to give a huge shout out to other creatives in the Bronx, like Tag Up Studios, like Taco Tuesday Open Mic at I9B Show, because there are more open mics in the Bronx now. You know, but I would go to these and I would see younger artists who just needed some polishing, you know, like they got the gift, they got the talent, but they just needed the feedback. They just needed, you know, the structure. They just needed a couple of notes, you know, to clean up their performance. So I started noticing that and going to open mics. And by the time that Uptown Melody made a year, I knew I was like, okay, now I want to start like the performing 101 workshops that I currently run, and we're actually about to wrap up soon. But yeah, artist development to me was just as important as providing a space for already established artists, because we just need those spaces. You know, we need those spaces to grow. We need those spaces to try out, our stuff. Like I remember going to an open mic, and the host describes performers performing in open mics as like, you're going to the gym, like you're working out. And I was able to share. I was like, that's great that you're going to work out, but sometimes you need a trainer. Sometimes you need a personal trainer when you go, to the gym. And that's how, that's the role I wanted to play in regards of helping artists. So with the Performing 101 workshops, we've run about like a little over 6 weeks, like 6, 7 weeks of it. And it's just been a really great experience, and I can't wait to run it again. I've definitely had to learn the balance of it all. Like, I can't be like doing everything all at once. So the workshops will probably be more kind of like a every other season kind of thing. But it's been really cool. And just to go back to Uptown Melody's 1 year anniversary during the summer, that was such a huge event. We were able to use the Bronx Landia space, which is also in Hunts Point, which is also owned by Majara Carter. I give her so much love and praise for providing a space for me to, help continue Uptown Melody grow. But it was such an incredible time. We had so many performers, we had vendors, we had a dope chef, like it was just really, really great. So that's definitely an event that I'm like super proud of this year, because it took a lot of work, but it was so worth it.
That's amazing. Congratulations. And I really like what you're doing with these performance courses, especially within the Bronx, because we see that a lot of artists, they just can't afford to make it out to see coaches in Manhattan and California and all that. So I think it is really cool that you found success here in the Bronx and you're now paying that forward to the next generation. I think that's absolutely amazing. So, of course. So now let's talk about August, which just by your Instagram was a hell of a month for you in terms of events. I mean, we have here the Block Preview event, Rhythms, Bites, and Booze, Solar Sounds, and most importantly, your very own concert, The Story of a Libra. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but this wasn't like the first concert that you put on yourself and performed in. This was your second, correct?
Yes, yeah. So my first big concert was in Co-op back in 2019, and it was epic. Had dancers and background singers and full band. And this time around, to be invited back to Co-op to do like a full like 2 hours, just 2 hours under the singer. It was definitely a blessing. I wasn't, just logistic reason, I couldn't have dancers this time, but it still was like just a very beautiful performance. This time around, I collaborated with Brian Duryea and his band, and he's another incredible Bronx artist who has just become one of my dearest, closest friends this year. So to have him on board and have him share some of his music as well was really dope. And it was a vibe. It was a good time. I definitely could share from a personal note. My concert was Wednesday, and then the music festival that I helped produce with Duryea and Fernando for Foster King was like that Saturday. So it was like one full week of like, woo, concert, the festival. It was a lot. It was a lot. I tell myself, like, in the future, we're going to like space this out a bit. But, at the same time, it just reminded me of my perseverance and my stamina, and that, like, I'm able to do stuff like this, and it was just really great. It was an awesome time. It was an outdoor concert, so people just were able to like follow the music and set up their chairs and just sit and have a good time.
That's so cool. And you mentioned your last concert was 2019, correct?
Yeah, that's full
So
concert.
this past summer was kind of like the summer where we're kind of going back into normalcy. So what was that like compared to 2019 to now? Did it feel like refreshing? Was it like we're back? Like what did that feel like for you?
Yeah, it definitely felt refreshing. The stage is my home. It is where I am so happy. Like, just throw me on any stage. I will, get the attention of the crowd. We're going to have a good time. I'm going to have a great time. So it was definitely refreshing. It was definitely, like I said, just a test of my energy and my stamina. It's just like, all right, we're really doing this. We're producing these events and we're performing and doing this, that, and the third all at the same time. And it was like, yeah, we're gonna do it. We're gonna see how it goes. But I'm definitely happy that, like, just as a society, we're in a better place. Where people are comfortable coming together in social spaces to just enjoy the arts and socialize with each other and have a good time. Because, like, quarantine, I feel like we kind of try to rush out of it, but
Mm-hmm.
it had its impact, on us physically, mentally, emotionally. So, just to be back in, and I always say quote unquote normal because it's still kind of weird. It ain't 100% normal just yet.
Right. It's like a new normal. Yep.
Yeah. In this new normal, I'm just happy that we're all able to be back in spaces around each other, and because it's an energy thing. Because you could do the virtual stuff all day, but it's just about that in-person energy. It's different. It's special.
Absolutely. And I mean, so many more concerts for you. I'm so excited.
Thank you.
But let's jump more into the present. I know you have a holiday song titled To the Angels, and I love it because I feel like every artist needs a holiday song, whether you cover one or whether you write one. I don't know. I feel like every artist needs to do some kind of holiday Christmas song because at least like it's going to be evergreen, it's a staple. At least one time a year somebody's going to be listening to it. So just tell me a little bit about the song. What was the inspiration behind it? What was the writing process like? What was that like?
Yeah. So To the Angels was actually like in my vault for a little bit of time. Um, I wrote it because I was just talking to one of my closest friends, and she was just sharing how hard the holidays is. Her father passed away a couple of years ago, and her mother was very sick at the time, and it just made me realize that, like, the holidays for a lot of people is not as joyous as, like, society tries to make it. Like, you just see like the decorations and the lights and the cookies and the like. Some people are stressed, really stressed. They're stressed financially, or they're stressed, in the sense of really reflecting on the fact that a loved one isn't in their life anymore.
Mhm.
So, after having that conversation with her, I just was inspired to write a song that was for people that was experiencing, that pain and that sorrow. But at the same time, I wanted it to be uplifting. I wanted to acknowledge, like, even whatever your spiritual belief is, if this person is physically not here, there's like, let's still wish them, a Merry Christmas. Um, and it was wild because I wrote that, and then I want to say, honestly, I wrote it in 2019, and then 2020 happened. And I was like, whoa, like, which 2020 was filled with so much loss and so much pain. And, I had to watch, like, a lot of mutual friends lose a grandparent, a parent, a cousin, like, like, it was just really heavy. And, my spirit was telling me, like, okay, you gotta release this song now. Like, you got, like, there's a lot of people that need this song. So, I was able to work on it musically with Quincy Valentine, who's an awesome producer. I was able to create a music video for it as well with Jamie Acevedo, an incredible videographer. And yeah, I was just like, let's just release it. And a lot of people gravitated towards it, excuse me. And it resonates with a lot of people. And flash forward to this year, where I was nominated. VX12 News was doing like a sounds of sounds of the season, competition thing, and I was nominated. I was like, oh man, I have to bring this song back, like, and yeah, because it's a holiday song, I'm going to bring it back every holiday. And I was just reminded of how important it is, to people. I had people that never heard it before. It's just like, whoa, I didn't even know you released this, like, so now I'm definitely going to be intentional about, performing it more and just shining a light on it so that people that, need to hear it and need to have a song that they could, like, connect to
Yeah.
around this time of season, they have it. But, I'm definitely grateful I released it. I'm grateful it's out. Like, to me, it's just one of my best songs I've written because of the topic I chose. Because, like, I ain't gonna fry. I do want to one day write a cheery Christmas song too, because I feel like that is kind of like the path of an artist. But for me to just kind of like break that norm and be like, all right, like, let's talk, let's keep it real, like, let's keep it real. and, help people out during these challenging times, I'm happy that I did that.
Right, absolutely. That's amazing. And it's funny, I was going to bring up the contest next, but the reception on your social media was stellar, when you had announced that you were in this contest and so many people went and voted. So how does it feel knowing that you have this support system around you?
Oh man, I am incredibly grateful. Like even just being nominated, for that competition, I was just like, oh, thank you guys. Because at the time I was working on a theater piece in Brooklyn. So in November I felt like I was off the grid, because I was running to rehearsals and just really hyper focused on the show I was working on at the time. So, to get an email, while running to rehearsal, and it's just like, oh, you've been nominated. I was like, oh, thank you. Like I was like, all right, let me make sure I actually share that I'm nominated. And yeah, to see like the amount of love and people like, come on, let's get these numbers up and stuff like that. I just felt so much gratitude, like I honestly I don't do music for like the accolades and the praise and stuff like that. I do it one because I love it. Like that's just the foundation. If I don't love it, I ain't gonna do it. So I love it. That's number one. But after that, it really is to, inspire people and to connect to people and just, be a voice, for people, or like I said, just create something that they could connect to. Like I kind of want to be like people's thoughts, like when I write my songs, like it's just like, oh, I was thinking that, but I didn't know how to express it. So to see how over the years, like, how many fans and supporters I've gained, it really is special. Like even one time my friend, because we were talking about like you get like so in your head about like Instagram numbers and stuff like that, like followings. And my friend at the time, she had more followers than me. And I was like, oh, but you have more followers than me. She was like, I do, but she was like, Ayanna, your followers are like, they're like genuinely following you. Like they're like genuinely, she's like, your people are like dedicated and they're really into your work and stuff like that. And I embraced that. I was like, yeah, I have to agree. My people's be riding with me, So all in all, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful, and I can't wait to meet even more people, that gravitate towards my work and want to support it.
No, yeah, for sure. And I mean, listen, there's a difference between followers and engagement. Like that's like the first thing they teach you, like when you want to do social media management. Like you can have
Yeah.
all the followers in the world, but if they're not liking and commenting, like means nothing. So the fact that, okay, granted, it may not be as high as somebody else, but like you have that engagement, and that engagement is going to continue to push you out to people who you don't even know. So that's really cool. And also, I like how you mentioned, your music is other people's thoughts and you want to put into words what other people were thinking. And I feel like we've lost a lot of that in the past few years, and I think quarantine and then just like the increase of social media platforms like TikTok, where everybody's going viral, everybody's going famous. So you kind of lose out on the meaning behind things. And I feel like now we're just pushing out songs for it to go viral rather than for it to, mean something to people. So that's really cool that you're bringing it back. And I really do think that we need to see more of that, in the next few years with music. And it's always amazing to highlight your wins. Always, always, always. But those wins don't come without challenges and obstacles, as we all know. So for you, this year, what have been some of the biggest obstacles you faced and how have you been able to overcome them?
Yeah. I think, yeah, just the challenges and obstacles this year is just like, once again, really having like the energy and the stamina.
Yeah.
I realized like I put a lot of energy because I love what I do so much. And, I'm just really passionate about, creating these spaces where people feel safe, where people are nourished, with arts and love and community and also stuff like that. So I think a challenge has been to like balance my energy through it all, because even for example, like to keep it real, like the 1 year anniversary, like I had to take weeks off after because I was just so tired. I was depleted. I was like, the event itself, I was running around like a chicken with no head, making sure everything was running according to plan. And the venue itself just happened to be very hot that day. So we were sweating bullets. Like it was just, kind of like these factors that sometimes we deal with certain spaces. And so I feel like just the main challenge has been like, okay, how do I make sure that while I'm giving back to my community and giving back to these creatives, that I'm also giving back to myself? Like I could be the advocate for self-care, self-love, but if I'm not practicing what I'm preaching, then what are we doing, So I feel like that's just been like a huge lesson for me this year. That's why even this month I'm wrapping up the year with doing a showcase, for the participants of the Performing One-on-One workshop. But that's it. Like, you're not, like, I wish I had the energy to do like a holiday thing or whatever. It's just, I realized like I just don't have the capacity, and I really need to rest and prep and rejuvenate. So I think that's just been like the main challenge, is like the energy management. And then as this person that loves to create, and I'm a very like self-sufficient, independent woman kind of mindset, I definitely had to learn how to delegate. I had to learn how to pass off responsibilities and tasks to other people, because it shouldn't just be me, or it shouldn't feel like it's just me. Like, I'm blessed to have a small and mighty team, but I've definitely learned like I have to utilize those people even more, because I can't be so like, I gotta be this way. And then next thing you know, I'm just like, ugh, like
Right.
tapped out. So yeah. Yeah. But I would say honestly, like, those are really the challenges, just like the energy management and learning how to delegate. Because everything else, like, I've never really had like major issues at any of my events. And I feel like even if there was anything, like, I was raised on theater where like the show must go on. Like, the show must go on no matter what. We lose power, the show must go on. We're missing an important person, the show must go on. We're gonna figure this out. So I could definitely say like each event this year was just fun, enjoyable, good vibes, good energy. Like, I always left feeling like, wow, I did something special. So
That's amazing. And I feel like we're in this hustle culture in a way where you think like go, 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 go. Like you always have to be doing something, but like to everybody watching, like take a break. You cannot burn the candle at both ends, because then you're burnt out, and then what?
yeah.
All the passion, all that stuff is gone, and all that stuff continues to fade because you're just so tired. And it's like, damn, do I even love this anymore? Like, do I even like doing this anymore?
Exactly. I feel like when you start questioning it, or if you completely forgot that you loved it, or if you forget to have fun, because that's like another part of it too. Like, I've been sharing a lot, like teaching the Performing One-on-One workshops. I'm like, you gotta remember to have fun. Like, sometimes I have to remember myself, like, yo, I'm tired, I'm tapping. It's just like, yo, just have fun.
Right.
Have fun. Like, get out your head, get out your own way. But I definitely like agree with you. I feel like this like hustle mentality and this work, work, work. I mean, like, that could be a whole separate conversation about capitalism and the way that, like, we're kind of like our upbringing of like work hard, and not really being shown what it's like to rest, and not equate rest to like laziness, or like equate rest to something negative. That's like something else I'm working on, like, just like my perspective, where it's just like I have this time this month to work on stuff I need for me, to work at stuff that needs to get done at home, like, just kind of like the stuff that I usually don't get to focus on. It's like, now is the time. But it's also time to just focus on like slowing down
Right.
and reflecting and breathing. Because me, I get anxious when it feels like I'm not being productive, like when it feels like I'm not doing enough. I've definitely had to just learn how to like treat myself with grace, and not beat myself up for like, oh, you ain't doing shit. Oh, you lazy. And it's just like, no, no, like, it's just like, no, 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 no. I'm rest. I deserve rest. Like, just, I have to say that to myself like every day. Like, I deserve rest, so that I could get out of that old mentality of just like, oh, well, if you ain't doing anything, then, you know?
Right. I'm right there with you. I mean, there's so many times where you think like you're not doing anything, and it's like, well, look at everything I just did. But like you're still in your head, like I didn't do anything. So I
Yeah. Yeah, like, but it's not enough, like, you're not doing
right,
enough.
right.
Like, that's like my number one negative intrusive thought. Is like, not even like you're not enough. It's like, you're not doing enough.
Right. All the
And a whole lot.
right. So just to wrap up, you have had one amazing year, and I know you're gonna have another amazing year after that, and an amazing year after that. You're just gonna continue to grow. So as we ask all of our best kept secrets or our cover stars, could you give somebody who is in your position, who like an emerging artist, what advice do you have for them?
Yeah, yeah. Remember that you love it. Remember to have fun. Those are kind of like the core of it. And my mindset is that life is very short. So you really just gotta do what you love. You know, you never know what tomorrow's gonna bring. You never know how things are gonna shift and change. And I mean, we definitely learned that, you know, from 2020 when the world kind of had to shut down. We were like not expecting that. But
Right.
yeah, you just gotta do what you want and do it because you love it and because you're having fun. The moment you don't love it, the moment you're not having fun, that's when you need to take a step back and just reanalyze and see what's going on. But when you can remember that it's love and it's fun, then everything else works out.
For sure, 100%. I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Where can we find you?
You can find me on IG at Ayanna the Singer. I also have my website, ayannathesinger.com. And Uptown Melody has Instagram as well, the Uptown Melody on Instagram. And we have our website as well, uptownmelody.com.
Awesome, guys. Be sure to follow. You don't want to miss out on everything she has coming this year.